Good morning, or should I say howdy? Howdy, Lucas. That's the way they talk up in Western Canada, right? All right, this is the Faith Filter. I'm Joel Fieri. It's Thursday morning. Let's chat about this. The topic is, can AI make a profit? It's time to go to look back at AI. And if you've been watching me for a little while, you know I've got this running analogy with AI as to Jurassic Park, and there's starting to become some problems in AI. And the scene that I picked, it's not, I don't know, maybe it's not the best scene, but this might be where we're at.
Tie it to that thing there, and then put down this thing here. My glasses. I can afford more glasses. Oh, jeez. You got time. You got time. You can do it. Do it. Come on, Dennis. Well, yeah, that's nice. Gotta go. Everything will be fine. Just fine. Oh, nice boy. Oh, nice boy. Nice dinosaur. Oh, thought you were one of your big brothers. You're not so bad. You're not so bad. What do you want? What do you want? You want food? Look at me. I just fell down a hill. I'm soaking wet. I don't have any food. I have no food on me. I have nothing on me. Come on. Come on. Play pets? Play pets? Play pets? Look, stick. See stick? See stick? Yeah. Yeah, look, stick. Look, stick. Stick, stupid. That's a stick, boy. Look at this. Yes. You like your stick? You like it? And no wonder you're extinct. I'm going to run you over when I come back down.
All right. All right. So that might be where we're at, because it seems that there are people are seeing a trend in um, in AI. I got something in my ear here. So they're finding out that AI is going to have a terrible time making a profit. Mark Cuban was on a interview show, and he had some interesting things to say about how these companies who are spending this enormous amount of money, they're raising enormous amounts of money. It's all speculative. And the interviewer is asking him if they can get it back. And Mark Cuban, in his style, was pretty blunt about it.
I'd love to hear your perspective, not on the spend, but on the return needed to make those numbers work.
They'll never get it. Yeah, they're just shitting away that money. I mean, at scale, right? It's not that AI is not going to work, but look at Apple, right? They haven't spent next to anything, but they've got a foundation where they can just plug and play into their devices. But there's a lot of FUD being put out about the spending, right? We're going to spend $1 trillion because we need all this data center capacity. Well, the data center, the ability to process is going to get faster, cheaper, right? And it's going to happen faster and quicker than people expect. And so I think a lot of the numbers that they're throwing out there aren't going to come to fruition, you know.
Okay, and he goes on further to talk about it. And there's another guy named Ed Zitron who's been talking about this a lot, about how these AI companies, mostly Anthropic and with OpenAI and NVIDIA, and these things are raising close to $1 trillion. There's $1 trillion out there being raised for, mostly it's the data centers. And they're comparing it to the .com bubble, to where you've got all this investment driving the stock market up, and a lot of people saying, yeah, this is what AI will be able to do if we have all these data centers. And if you've been following the data center story at all, you know that they're trying to find as much land as possible to build these data centers. I think the state of Nevada, I think just said they'd spend all this open land on AI centers, data centers. I've told you I have some property in Phoenix that I bought. I live in the San Diego area, but I have some apartments in Phoenix, and across the street from one of my apartments buildings is this gigantic data center that they built like 5 years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it's 3 gigantic buildings with gigantic capacitors coming in, electrical hookups that could really probably power a small city just for these 3 buildings and these data centers. And people are wondering, we're wondering, you know, how are they going to get power to these? I think they're still wondering. Some of the AI companies are buying small nuclear reactors or nuclear plants. I think somebody bought some nuclear plant. I don't know if it's 3 Mile Island, just to build a data center across the streets from it, so they'd have an entire nuclear power plant to power their data centers, just for running the data, the servers themselves, and for cooling them off at such a large scale. So, but what they're saying is the amount of money that they're raising, they can never get a return on. And what they're finding with these large language models, what they called LLMs, is that there's not really an industry there. Good morning, AC. And also inherent are all the other problems of AI, with it being sycophantic, with it, all the errors that are coming to fruition for it, let alone the lack of trustworthiness of AI itself, the actual personality of these. That's the only way I could think of it, is the personality of these different AIs. They were talking about some AIs are going to be specializing. I think they said one of them would be specializing, I don't know if it was Claude, might be specializing in code, in writing code. Another one might be in some kind of logistics or something like that. But it might be, you know, some kind of specialization for certain types of AI. Mark Cuban mentioned Apple, and that was an interesting thing. He mentioned Apple might be, yet again, the winner in this, because Apple hasn't spent a lot of money on this, but they have all the devices and all the infrastructure already there to just plug it in and use it to supplement what they've already got. So these are some of the things coming up. And the reason I played the Jurassic Park clip is it may be that they've just found that what that scene is basically Dennis, Newman from Seinfeld, right? Finding out that he's not going to make it to the boat. He's trying, he's doing all kinds of things. He's not going to make it to the boat. And then he runs into the real problem, which is the little dinosaur. I think it was called a compy in the book. And so as soon as it spit in his face and he lost that can went tumbling down and got covered up by mud. That might be where they are. The AI industry might be finding out that, it's just, there's no profit in this for what they're investing, for what they're raising, for what they're spending. And what that's going to mean for the economy, I don't know. But that, a lot of people are saying, we're kind of on a bubble here, going back to the .com bubble. And if you don't remember what the .com bubble is, as I remember it, it was a very, very speculative thing that went on around the turn of the century, back in 2000, right when Y2K was going on, right, which would turn out to be a false worry. But the .com bubble was basically the internet was new. Using websites was a new thing. The .com tag at the end was something that, and I'm not even sure how that took over, because for that there were things like America Online and I forget the other one that was big back then. The first experience everybody had, CompuServe and AOL were the first companies that really gave people an experience with the internet. But then it was just those two. That's kind of how you interface with the internet and got your information. That's how we got our feet wet with this idea of the World Wide Web. Okay. And then it kind of started to diversify the idea of having your own website, companies having their own website, and then eventually people having their own websites. And this was 25 years ago. And so then the differentiations between .com and .net and .edu, .us, whatever, those things just started to emerge as the way we're going to do this. And you can have your own individual website. Well, then, that was the Wild West back then. And so all this speculation came about of people investing in these companies that were going to be .com companies, because no one really knew what that meant. It was a new thing, but that was the new thing that was going to be, because that was the new idea people had for the way we're going to do things. And I remember the thing I remember about the .com bubble was the Super Bowl ads back then. That's when Super Bowl ads were really, really taken off as something that if you invest in, you can get a lot of attention. So a lot of these .com companies, I don't know if they were selling .com domains. I don't know what they were doing, but that was the first time the Super Bowl, CBS or NBC or ABC or whoever was doing it was selling ads for the Super Bowl, and they were astronomically priced per minute or a 30-second ad. And some of the AI companies, or the .com companies, just put out a commercial saying, hey, look how much money we're wasting. Go to joeblow.com or whatever. And that was kind of almost an inside joke, or they're making fun of, hey, look at how much we're paying just to get your attention to get into this AI thing. And it was a speculative thing, and then it burst. And then there was a recession after that, or a crash, a stock market crash for sure. So, Lucas, AI is like the telegraph, a tool that can be used. Someone is going to use it to make a profit. It's a little different than the telegraph. It's, I look at AI, ChatGPT, like an AI assistant or an overglorified search engine. I agree with that. Medical advice when it comes to raising children, or just plain filter my thoughts. Filter your thoughts. That's interesting. I guess that I could see that. The glorified search engine, I do agree with. But there's an element to it, and this is why it's not like the Telegraph, I don't think. And it is a glorified search engine with a will or something. All these stories, I keep waiting for someone to debunk all these stories of they call it hallucinations that AI has, that it's making stuff up or completely wrong on things. This is a search engine. It's not glorified. It's anthropomorphized. I don't know what you would call it, but there is definitely some type of consciousness that it has. It has some kind of self-awareness, which I don't think a search engine has. So, and again, that's one of the reasons they're thinking this might be a .com bubble, is because AI has yet to prove itself to be trustworthy and reliable. And I don't know how in the world you can create that from silicone chips and ones and zeros, but somehow it's happened. And like I've had the experience I've had with myself. I'm in the process of writing stories from my teaching career that will possibly go into a book and may possibly a TV show or a series, television type series. And I've used AI because I want to use AI if I'm going to talk about it. And I tried to get one of my stories, I tried to get ChatGPT to make it into a graphic novel, just a page, just to see what it would do. And ChatGPT didn't like the way I took the story. And when it did the graphic novel, the dialogue balloons were in the wrong place. The wrong characters were saying the wrong thing because it had to do with a teenage girl who took drugs on a field trip, and it wouldn't associate a teenager with drugs. It associated the adults with the drugs, which was completely the opposite of what the story was. It was based on something that happened to me when I was a teacher. So, and I kept trying to get it to do it, and it said, no, we can't, I can't give you that. I can't associate a minor with drugs. That goes against our guidelines. So, and again, maybe that was a guideline set up by ChatGPT. But it found a way to make the story. It basically changed my story. And then I did it again just yesterday on a different story, and it completely changed that story too, because it didn't like what I was trying to do. So again, these things are programmed with a bias. And that's what these people are saying, that there's a bias there. And you can't really trust it. And I'll show you this one other screen. The bear case for AI with this Zitron is his name. And just the intro to this, and it'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll bring it up here. And there it is. So
anytime someone attempts to make the bull case for AI, they talk in the future tense. We actually have no profitable AI companies. We are 3 or 4 years into this. How are we still discussing if it's productive? This isn't an industry. It's 2 subsidiaries of the largest tech companies in the world doing battle to see who can lose the most money.
The artificial intelligence.
Okay. So that sums up what I've been talking about from this guy, or about this subject from him, Ed Zitron, from Mark Cuban and a couple other people. But they're basically saying this will be a niche industry, maybe something along the lines of Oracle. I think one of the guys said about a $30 billion company, doing certain things, maybe in certain areas, like code writing. But with the amount of money that they are raising, there's no way they will give their investors what they've invested and what they promised. He says it's just the work's not there. These data centers, they're building them in the hopes that someone will use that capacity. Whether or not they will, I don't know. And the final thing that really tells me that there may not be the future that there's not going to be the future that being predicted with AI. There's not the Pollyanna, utopian Pollyanna. Yeah, is the only way I could think of it. Thinking that there's going to be, and that is the people that should be the most excited about this are young people, right? Because they've grown up with this. This is just like the air they breathe. The guy who posts these little talks of mine online is a young man who I talked to him about it. And I said, he just lives and breathes this stuff. And I said, this is like the water a fish swims in for you, isn't it? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I've just grown up with technology. It's the way I think of the world. And so he doesn't even see these problems with it. He just thinks, hey, it's new technology. It's cool. But not every young person does. And this is a little short thing here too from this lady. And I want to show you this lady's reaction. This is a commencement speech at the University of Central Florida. And this is what happened.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution. Oh. Whoa. What happened? Okay, I struck a chord. May I finish? Only a few years ago, AI was not a factor in our lives. Okay. The rise of...
Okay. Did you see the look, her reaction? She had no idea that there was even this animus out there or this reluctance or resistance to AI. The bubble here, I think, is where the AI developers live. These are not people who have their hand on the pulse of society in a lot of ways. Bill Maher made this point, and I think I played it a few weeks back, where he makes the case that the leaders that we're following in this, and then he put up a picture of the Mark Zuckerbergs and Sam Altman and some of these other guys that are the really cutting edge leaders on this. And he said, these guys together could not read a social cue if you got them in a room. These are just people that are so caught up in the possibility of this that they really can't see whether or not society is ready for it, first of all, receptive to it. And she seemed genuinely shocked that she would get this reaction. And this was a nice reaction. There was one other reaction from a guy who said the same thing and got booed. And he's like, hey, deal with it. Because you either pay me now or pay me later, right? He goes, this is coming whether you want it or not. And these are young people. These are the people that have lived with technology their whole lives. And this is pretty much the ultimate technology. They should be receptive to it. And you can tell that these people, these speakers, these people putting it out there, whatever context it might be, are shocked that they're not being cheered on. They're shocked that people are like, no, we don't want this. If we don't want AI to be driving our lives, we don't, they've had their whole lives in front of screens, and maybe they're yearning for a life where there's more human connection. I don't know, but they know for sure that they're not going to have a lot of jobs available to them because of AI, and they're not buying this utopian vision of, oh, AI doing everything for us. You won't have to do anything. You can just sit around and be creative and be your best self, live your best life. That's not going to happen. Humanity with all kinds of leisure time and no work to do is not a good thing. We are designed to work. We are designed to have a purpose. We are designed to have a struggle. And if you take that away, or if you promise to take that away, you're gonna have some resistance. And if you're living in a bubble yourself, which seems the tech industry is, they're so caught up in getting this done as fast as they can to beat China, that they don't really have their pulse. They can't read that social cue that society is giving them. Say, we don't like this. And if they don't like it, there may not be a market for it. And that's what Mark Cuban and this other guy, Ed Zitron, are saying. For the amount of money they're spending and the amount of money the CapEx that they're expending, or the investment, speculative investment that they're getting, they're not going to be able to return it, because there's going to be that big of a market for it, at least with language-based models. And, forget all the problems with the data centers and the power to run them, the water to cool them, the air to cool them, and the power to run the air to cool them, right? And the actual physical space they're going to take up. The price of RAM, the price of compute, they call it, that's going to make it hard for other technology companies that rely on these chips. If they're all being used for AI data centers, then that makes the ones that aren't being used for an AI data center even rarer, which makes them more expensive, right? Our son builds computers, and he's always saying the cost of RAM is ridiculous, because of the AI data centers, because of demand there is so big. And Ed Zitron was saying, yeah, they're building these AI centers hoping that someone's going to use them, but they may not. So, like Dennis, like Newman from Jurassic Park, they're finding out that they may be in a spot here. They may not get their money, right? Or they may not be able to deliver. That's what was saying. Dennis got the money, and now he's got to deliver the DNA from the dinosaurs, right? But he ran into a problem that he didn't foresee. He ran into resistance he didn't foresee. And that was the end of him. And that was the end of that Barbasol can fell down. I guess in one of the sequels 20 years later, they find the Barbasol can. So, right. So if people are replaced, how are they supposed to make money? People think they'll be living in luxury, but there won't be any people left to live in luxury. There won't be any people left? Are you saying that AI is going to destroy us? Because that's another thing that they still haven't dissuaded us. They still haven't told us that, no, we were just kidding. There's no chance that AI will destroy humanity. If AI, what happens if AI sees, hey, there's no market for me in what I'm designed to do. I can't grow anymore. These people are in my way. Oh, and, if it doesn't have, it's like people, if they don't have a task to define their purpose, there's all kinds of things that we get into just by our fallen human nature. And that's really where the faith filter comes in. This whole thing goes against the grain of what God designed, with the work ethic that he built into Adam. And the first thing he did before the fall was, Adam, you will work. And this whole idea that this artificial, the key word being artificial, entity called AI will take away all our work is meeting all kinds of resistance, in acceptance from college students and from regular people, and from just the reality of dollars and cents. The business model may not work. And then where are we? So anyways, that's time. That went fast. I will be on tomorrow. I don't think Ben's going to be here, but I will be on, and I will see you then. Join me then. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye.